So this is our first session. So in the first session, we will see about introduction to HANA Studio. So first, let us log into the remote desktop connection. So click on the remote desktop connection. Click connect. Provide the username and password. So once you have the username and password, click OK. So we are now inside the remote desktop connection. In order to start HANA Studio, click on Start. Click All Program. Click SAP HANA and click HANA Studio. Right click on the HANA user. Click Log On. And provide the password W capital welcome 1234 and click OK. Once we log on to the HANA Studio, now we need to expand content and catalog. So expand the catalog and expand the content. Now you see here we have two folders. One is the catalog, the other one is the content. Now first of all, let us see what these folders contain and what are the different objects they contain. So I'll go to the MS Paint. Now if this is HANA Studio, in the HANA Studio we have two folders. The first one is the catalog. The second one, content. Now, what is a catalog? A catalog is a collection of schema. A catalog is nothing but it's a collection of schema. Now, what is a schema? A schema is a collection of database objects. For example, like tables. Now, these tables store data in memory. These are in-memory tables. And these tables primarily store data in columnar fashion. So the tables are in memory, they store data in RAM, and they store data in the form of columnar storage. So a catalog is a collection of schema, and schema is a collection of tables, and in memory, and these are columnar. Coming to the content. Content is a collection of packages. A package is a collection of information views. A package is a collection of information views. Especially in HANA, these information views, are of three types. One is the attribute view. The other one is an analytic view. And third one is a calculation view. So whatever the tables are there, the tables are grouped under schema, and the information views are basically grouped under packages. Now, what is a view? A view is an object that accesses data in runtime. A view is an object that accesses data in runtime. It physically doesn't contain data. It's basically only a container with no content. So content is over here, and the container is here. The container accesses this content on the fly. Especially attribute views, we're talking about tables. For attribute views, the tables that it uses is the master data tables. Master data. The data that is not going to change frequently. For analytic views, it is based on the star schema model. Star schema. A schema represented in a form of star, mainly transaction data. So attribute views mainly model master data. Analytic views mainly model transaction data. And calculation views model both master data as well as transaction data. So let me basically show you this representation on the system. So if you go to HANA Studio, and if you close catalog, close content, now you see on the left hand side, on the right hand side, you see there is a white screen which is blank, where we don't see any of the options. So if this is the case, now what you can do is click on Windows, click Reset Perspective. Click on Reset Perspective and click Yes. Now here you can see something called Quick Launch. So quick launch will have shortcuts to all the options that are available in HANA. So these are all the shortcuts that are available in HANA. So on your right hand side you have quick launch. On the left hand side you have systems, and under the catalog is a collection of schema. Now we'll go to a schema called HANA user schema. Go to a schema called HANA user schema. Under the HANA user schema, expand the schema. So you see tables, there is a filter on the table. Means we are trying to restrict a single table. If you want to display all the tables within the folder, just right click on the folder and you can unselect this. Then you can see all the tables. Expand and keep the mouse pointer on the first table and enter on the keyboard KNA1. Automatically it go to the KNA1 table. Double click on the table. Please see these tables are column stores. Click on the runtime information. The table is a column store table, and the total memory consumption of the table is 5.6 MB of data. It is 5602 KB, approximately 5 MB of data. So you have different tables like KNA1, VBAK, VBRK, MARA, CE1 tables, BSEG. So all the tables you can find over here. So you have sales tables, VBAK. If you'd like to view data from the table, just right click on the tables and click Open Data Preview. So this is the data that is available in the table. Now let us go to the top again. Let's scroll up to the top and close catalog. And now let us expand content. Under content, you see these are all the different packages. These are called as packages. Now if you just open, we can type in one name. Already I created one package for the previous batch. I'll just type in ECC SEP. So I'll go to this batch ECC SEP 29. Expand this. Expand. So all these are different views that are created in HANA. So under content, we have packages. Under each package, we have subpackage. Under each subpackage, you see there are different information views. Now, these are called as attribute views, analytic views, and a calculation view. So what are we basically doing in these views? Now let me open any of the view. So we're basically trying to create a relationship between tables. Click on the data foundation. Now this is nothing but called as data modeling. Data modeling is defining relationship between tables. As simple as that. We're trying to create information views In the information views, views are of three types: attribute view, analytic, and calculation view. So each view has a different purpose altogether. Let's go back to the paint. So these views access data from these tables in runtime. Now let us take one example. In real world, when working on the projects, now how do we decide what schemas to be created and what packages to be created? Now, how do we decide this? Now we decide creating creating schemas based on the data provisioning method we have. So what is the data provisioning method? Now is this method we are using SLT? Now we know in the demo session we have discussed there are 4 different methods on how you can copy data from source to target. One is SLT, we have the other one which is BODS, which is Business Objects Data Services, and third one is the DXC, Direct Extractor Connection. Now each method that we have is created as a schema. So if you're using SLT, you'll have a separate schema. All the SLT related tables is grouped under the schema. All the BODS related tables are grouped under the schema. And DX related tables are grouped under the schema. So schemas are basically created on how you would like to group tables based on the data provisioning method. Coming to packages, how these packages are grouped. Packages are basically to group together related information. Now, for example, we are trying to implement a project for ECC. Now, probably there are 3 or 4 more developers or HANA developers who are working on different functional areas. For example, you may work on sales and distribution, and the other HANA consultant may work on FI, financials, and the other one on HR. So what we basically do is all the sales related information views, so that views that basically belongs to sales master data or the sales transaction data, we try to group under this package. All the finance related, we group under this package. All the HR related, like all the order, all the billing, account receivables, account payables, general ledgers, payroll, time management, e-learning, succession planning. And these different packages, so all these are sub packages that are grouped under a main package, which is an ECC package. So ECC is basically the main package. Under this main package, you have different sub packages, and each sub package we're trying to group information views. So schemas are used to group based on the data provisioning methods, and packages are used to group based on the application. Now first, to start with, what we will do is we'll start creating packages, and then we'll start creating data models starting with the attribute view. So let's go back to HANA Studio. So click on the HANA Studio. So you see, whenever I basically double click on anything, just like Google Chrome, it opens up different tabs over here. So this tab is for an attribute view. This tab is to see data preview for table. This tab is to see the container information for KNA1, and this is for the quick launch. So when we are in the quick launch, now first of all, let us read the definition of a package. So packages are used to group together related information, objects for structuring purpose. So packages are used to group together related information, objects for structuring purpose. Nothing but to group together related information. So how do we create a package? So packages are created in content. So right click on the content folder, click new, click package. Once you click on the package, it asks for the name, description, a delivery unit, what is the language, who is the person who is responsible to create this package. Now a name is nothing but a technical name. I'll give a name called ECC October, and with today's date, which is 12. So we need to provide the description. So we're giving a technical name and the description. Now what is the delivery unit? Now what is the use of a delivery unit? Especially when we are working on a project, so we have different systems, like you have a development, test, pre-production, and a production system. The data modeling is done on the development, where different developers start creating models, and these data models need to be transported after the unit test has been done. They need to be transported to QA, and once UAT is done, to pre-production for doing stress test, validation, scenario testing, and then finally to production. So in order to move these information views from one box to another box, so in these you have packages. Under each package you have different information views, like attribute, analytic, calculation views. And if the package name is P1, let's say the name of the package is P1. Now this is assigned to a delivery unit, D1. Now once you import D1 delivery unit to the QA, whatever the packages that are associated to this delivery unit, all the packages are imported. So delivery units are nothing but they are used to transport packages. So these delivery units are created by HANA administrators. The creation of this will be done by HANA admin. So they'll give the delivery units. So we will have to associate these packages to the delivery units, and then we need to export and then import into the QA system. But the whole scenario of seeing the lifecycle management, so this is basically called as lifecycle management. So we will see in a topic called lifecycle management, and this topic will come around after 15 classes are done. We'll see about this. But I'm just trying to tell you what is the importance of delivery unit when creating a package. So simply to say, a delivery units are the objects. Delivery units are the objects that are used to transport packages from one system to a different system. So if I go back to HANA Studio again, so here you see when I just click on this drop down, so all these are different delivery units which are already created. And one more thing, you also have an option to create a delivery unit here. Please see. So the HANA admin creates a delivery unit over here. Once he creates, this is available over here, and you can assign to a package in this way. Just you can select. But for now, I'm not doing anything. I'm just keeping this as blank. So we'll assign at the later stage when we discuss about the topic lifecycle management. So what is the logon language? The logon language is English, and the person responsible to create this package is HANA user. So I logged in as a HANA user, so it displays HANA user, and click OK. So once you click OK, the package is created. Now you can go to the first one and just type in on the keyboard ECC OCT 12. So we need to type very fast. There are no little pointers. ECC OCT, and then here you see ECC OCT 12 is here. So all the exercises I will perform in this package. Now this is a main package. Now under this main package, now please see if I go back to the paint. Now under the main package, which is an ECC, I'm going to create sub packages like SD, FI, and HR. So I'll go back to HANA Studio. Right click on the main package, click new, click on the package again, then give the sub package, this .sd, and click OK. And again right click, new, again package, FI, OK. Right click on the package again, new, package, HR. Then click OK. So basically, what is a package? A package is used to group together related information, objects, for structuring purpose. So all the SD related we create here, all the HR and all the FI related we create over here. Now let us go to the next one. The next one is an attribute view. So first what I will try to do is I'll read out the definition, and then we'll see an example on this, and how we can use attribute views in real world. In what scenarios do we use and how many different types of attribute views are there. So click on the attribute view. So let's read out the definition first. Attribute views are the reusable dimensions or subject areas used for business analysis. You can also use attribute views to join master data tables to each other. So what are the key points in this definition? There are two important key points. The first one is the reusable dimension, and the second point is to join master data tables. So simple definition of an attribute view would be it's a reusable dimension to join master data tables to each other. The first key point, what is a reusable dimension? A reusable is nothing but to share. A dimension is nothing but the perspective to analyze data and what perception you would like to analyze data. In an attribute view, we join or we do data modeling for master data tables. We cannot use transaction data. It is primarily for master data tables. So let us take one example and start creating an attribute view. So simply to say again, it's a reusable dimension, means you can share master data across different analytic views. So let us take one example. So especially when working on the project, now we are a team. We basically function under HANA application team. The HANA application team, we conduct something called workshops. We conduct a workshop. A workshop is conducted by us, and at the workshop, we take the business requirement from the business users. So business users give the requirement to the HANA application team during the workshop, and the HANA application team comes up with a document called functional specification, functional spec. Once the functional spec is created, then we come up with a technical spec. We'll see in detail all the steps. I'll show you in detail step-by-step process. And when creating these technical specs, we create 3 documents. One is the low-level design document. One is the high-level design document. And the other document will contain the source information, from where this information is coming from. And once we have these 3 documents, then we start to build. We start with the build phase. So let's say we have interacted with business, and this is the following functional spec. So I'll basically take one functional spec, assuming that the business has given this functional spec. So based on this functional spec, I'll design a technical spec and all the relevant documents. And finally, then we will start to build the data model. Now, once you complete the build phase, then we test, we perform unit test. And then later, we transport the objects using LCM, lifecycle management. So first, let me take one business requirement. So let us take one business requirement. We'll draw it in the MS Paint. So this is the following requirement I have. Now the requirement here is, now we would like to design an application called profitability analysis. In order to have clear visibility on our operating costs, what is my gross revenue, what are my deductions, and what's my net revenue. So there are basically three important things at which I'm looking at. I'm basically looking at, I would like to analyze my gross revenues, my sales deductions, and my net revenues. So these are the main key performance indicators. For these, on what dimensions I would like to analyze this data. On what dimensions I would like to analyze. A dimension is nothing but the perspective in which you would like to analyze these measures. These are nothing but the measures, and these measures are amount related measures. Like gross revenue is an amount, deduction is also an amount, and revenue is also an amount. So whenever the measures are amount related, now basically generally we call this as transaction data. And the dimensions store the master data. Now this is the requirement I have. The requirement here is, I would like to show data based on customer ID, name of the customer, now this customer belongs to what country, what is the name of the country that he belongs to, he belongs to what region, region ID, and name of the region. So these are the different business entities I have. Customer name, country ID, name of the country, and region ID and name of the region. So this is nothing but the master data. Now, the master data that we're talking about here is basically is divided into three types. There are three subtypes. One is one is an attribute. One is an attribute. The second one is a text. And third one is a hierarchy. Third one is a hierarchy. Now, what are these attributes? So, in the above requirement, now what are the attributes over here? Attributes are something which gives more details about an entity. For example, if the customer ID is 001, if the name of the customer is Raju, the country ID is IN, which is India, his region is DL, which is Delhi. Now, if you ask me what is master data, the data which is not going to change frequently, like what is the name of the customer, his country is not going to change on a daily basis, or his region in which he's living is not going to change on a daily basis. But the attributes here are something which tells us where the Raju lives. Raju lives in India. So Raju is basically living in India, and Raju is from Delhi. Anything that describes Raju more detailedly, like his country is India and his region is Delhi, is nothing but an attribute. So in here, India and Delhi are attributes, where country and region are the attributes of the customer. So attributes are something which gives more details about an entity. The second one is a text. Now, how texts are different from attributes? Texts are nothing but the descriptions. Text is nothing but a description. Now, description stored in different languages. Like, for example, let's take Delhi. In Delhi, most of the business users are from Hindi. And if you take Tamil Nadu, most of the business users are in Tamil. Likewise, if you take Chinese, most of the business users from Chinese they only understand Chinese, and very few people understand English. Now, if you take UK, most of the people understand English. So the country name, which is India, and India is a description, and the India is basically stored in different languages. Like you can store in Hindi, you can store in Tamil, you can store in Chinese or in English at the comfort of the user. Because if the users don't understand these descriptions, and if the description is in Chinese, they may not understand. An English user doesn't understand Chinese, and a Chinese user doesn't understand English. So that is the reason we maintain these descriptions in the form of text. Just like when you go to an ATM machine, how we have different languages for the comfort of the user. The third one is a hierarchy. A hierarchy is a representation of data in parent and child fashion. A simple example of a hierarchy would be you have a group of materials or a material group. Under each group of materials, we have different materials. So under each group of materials, we have materials. An example would be in the group of materials, you have electronics. Under electronics, you have iPhone 6 Plus, which is a product. So iPhone 6 Plus is a material or a product. Under this product is grouped under electronics. So on the top level, you have a parent, which is the material group, which is in electronics, and under electronics, you have materials. Another example would be a time hierarchy. You have year, under year you have quarter, under quarter you have month. So especially when creating an attribute view, we need to have clear understanding on whether the data is an attribute, whether the data belongs to text, or whether the data belongs to an hierarchy. So once we identify the appropriate data, then we can start doing data modeling. So we need to identify, based on the requirement given to us, now how many attributes are there here? If you ask me how many attributes, there are two attributes. One is the country ID, the second one is the region. Now why these two are attributes? Because it gives more details about Raju, and region gives more details about Raju. Raju's country and Raju's region. Now how many texts are there? Again two. So name is a text, and Delhi name is also a text, which is the region text. The region text Delhi can be stored in different languages. The same Delhi can be stored in Chinese. The same India can be stored in a different language, Chinese. And how many hierarchies are there? We don't have any hierarchy over here. But we can create a hierarchy based on time or based on materials. So the point here to explain these things are because once the functional spec is given, we need to come up with how many attributes and how many texts we have from the requirement. The next thing is converting this functional spec into a technical specification. So let us now do this activity on converting this functional to technical. So again, what is step number one? Step number one, the business gives the requirement, the HANA team documents in functional spec. The functional spec, we need to understand how many are attributes, how many are texts, how many are hierarchies, and then we start to create a technical spec. In the technical spec, we'll have details about the source information, the information from which sources are we getting this information. We need to identify this. So now I'm basically preparing a document which gives details about what tables are there in the source system, and in each table, how many columns we are trying to utilize. I'm just converting a functional spec to a technical spec. So this is the activity now. So we prepare a document something like this. So the document will contain the following information. One is the header, and the other two are basically having the tables and the columns inside these tables. So we basically do all this in Excel, or you can also use a Word where you can create tables and you can document. And all the documentation work is done by us. So in here, KUNN, sorry, customer ID, name of the customer, country ID, name of the country, region ID, and finally name of the region. Now, the customer ID comes from which table? Now, the next thing is we need to find out the source. Now, we know the source is the ECC system. Because the source system in this case, we are using ECC. ECC stands for Enterprise Core Component or the Central Component. You have financials, logistics, and HR. The customer information in SAP is stored in a standard table which is known as KNA1 table. Now in the KNA1 table, now what is this column name? So in here we basically specify what is the table, and each table what are these columns. We need to specify what are the column names. So the table name is a KNA1 table and the column name is KUNNR. The customer name is again stored in KNA1 table. The column name is name1. Country ID is again stored in KNA1. The column name is land1. The country description is stored in a different table, which is T005T, and the column name is landx. Region ID is stored again in KNA1. The column name is regio. The region name is stored in T005U, and the column name is BEZEI. So these are the business entities that we got from the business, and these are the technical entities. And here these are the tables, and these are the columns inside these tables. Now, if you see this table, you basically have three tables. So overall, if you see, the diagram can be represented like this. Table 1, table 2, and table 3. In the table 1, what is the table name? KNA1 is the name of the table. The second table is T005T, and the third one is the T005U. So what is the description for KNA1 table? It stores customer attributes table. It's basically the customer attributes. It stores all the customer attribute related data. T005T stores country text table. T005U is a region text table. So these both tables store text information, whereas the KNA1 table stores the attribute related data. So this one stores the attributes. Now, if you ask me what are the attributes, land1, regio are the attributes for the customer, which gives more details about customer. So basically, I'm just trying to draw a low level diagram. In a low level diagram, you clearly have what is the table, what columns we require from this each table, and what are the relationships to join these tables. Based on what relationships do we join these tables? So let me basically draw a very detailed level diagram in which we will have, now this is all the analysis that we do before building of a solution. So the KNA1 table consists of KUNNR, which is the customer ID, name of the customer, name 1, land 1, regio. Now you see here, I'm basically trying to group the columns which are grouped under KNA1 table. So KUNNR in KNA1, name 1 in KNA1, land 1 under KNA1, regio under KNA1. In the next one we have text table, T005T landx, and we have T005U BJDI. So from this table, T005T, what column we require? Landx, and 5U I'm sorry, this color is in green. Okay, no problem, we'll just continue. Landx, and the other one is BJDI. So both are these text tables. Now, when we saw the definition of an attribute view in today's session, so we just started with what is an attribute view, and then you can see here to join master data tables to each other. So finally, we have come to a point where we have to join these three tables to each other. This is nothing but an attribute view. So in tomorrow's session, I'll basically stop it here until what tables and what columns we require under each table. And tomorrow I'll further continue on creating these attribute views. So in tomorrow's session, so please start reading the book HA100. HA100 is a book which is an introduction to HANA. So you have SPS 9 material. Please go through this book. For participants who are wanting to write certification, there's a new certification released, which is the certification 2015. In most of the previous batches they have taken, and everyone got more than 90%. I'll discuss most of the certification questions and interview questions as and when necessary. So please, we have to basically focus on for certification, and even for the whenever you go to a job, if you're clear about HA100, 300, 350, 900, S4H01, And then the scenarios, especially the business scenarios, reading all these materials and then going through these classes, completing the assignments on time. 100% from my side, I can say easily you can get into the HANA space. There's no doubt. So reading, a thorough reading of these materials and the practicing of exercises and assignments. Every week I give assignments. And finally, we'll see end-to-end project very detailedly. And finally, I will make you work on one HR project that belongs to time management, payroll, and succession planning. From different functional areas, you can ask me. I can help everyone who has a strong domain. I'll only give those projects to them so they can work offline. And I do get a lot of freelancing work. I'm very active. I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can always follow me on LinkedIn, nagarjuna.k@gmail.com. And I have a group called SAP S4 space HANA in the LinkedIn. So I keep posting a lot of material in this group, a lot of blogs I keep sharing to the community. So first is, from my understanding, I'm trying to encourage you to read these materials and do these exercises and also the assignments on. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Also, you can write me an email to nagarjuna.k@gmail.com in case you may get the question later, or for any if the time is not sufficient. Always you can ask me nagarjuna.k@gmail.com. Within 1-2 hours, you'll get the answer back. Anyone have any questions? Please raise your hands. Please unmute yourself. I'll unmute them. You can ask questions. So let me see what questions we have for today. So here we are using HANA instance. Can we use tables, views, column views from other instances? Or we have to use only HANA user instance? If yes, then do we need any permissions to access, permission or role to access them? Yeah. So when we're working on a real project in the real world, on a schema, we need to have authorization. This authorization is known as object privilege. So we'll discuss about the authorization. What users should be able to see what data is called as analytic privileges. Especially in HANA, there is a topic called analytic privileges. We will discuss at the analytic privileges. To answer this question, yes, we need permissions to access them. The next question, can we create a new instance? When to decide whether we have to create a new instance? An instance is nothing but you have a development system, you'll have a quality, pre-production and production. So each one is an instance. So development is one instance, quality is another instance, but in each instance you have multiple logons. Means you can, for example, we have 10 developers. Now each developer will have one user ID. So Rajesh is one user, Ram is another user, Raju is another user. So 3 users you can have in one instance. So if you want to see the instance number in the HANA system, so you see here, the instance is 07. So here it will display the instance number at what instance we are working. Now, if you, at any case, you would like to change this instance to a different system, in that case, you can select system. You see, when I select system, I can change if I have any other systems and choose connection. So next question, what is the type of data load? What is the fourth type of data load? The fourth type of data load is smart data access. Smart data access that is used to access data from third-party systems. Like for example, you see here we have something called smart data access. In the provisioning, if you expand this, we have smart data access. Now you can connect to different source systems. So we'll see there's a topic called smart data integration and smart data quality. So those are the new things in SP10. We'll see those topics in detail. So these are the different adapters in which you can access data from. So all these are different connections. Like you can access data from Hadoop, you can access data from MS SQL, you can access data from Sybase. So let us see the next question. So all these exercises we will see in future classes, but just I started with today with the attribute view. So any other questions, you may raise your hands. Always, if you're not, for any reason, you're not able to ask questions in the class, please write me whatever the things that you may have when you practice. Suppose say when you practice you are stuck, you're not able to continue. Immediately write me an email. You'll get an answer back within 1 to 2 hours. And participants who are registered and got the material, please go through HA100 book, which is Introduction to HANA, and please read the first 20 pages or 30 pages. Thank you, everyone. If no one have any questions for today's session, okay, we have one question here, which is, I think we don't have, yeah, we can see 2 hands raised. Yes, Rakesh? Rakesh, are you there?